Welcome to Mr. Yu's Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Happy Death Day to You, which is the sequel to Happy Death Day. This film again follows Tree, who in the first film was stuck in a time loop where there was this murderer in a baby mask, always trying to kill her. And whenever that murderer would kill her, her day would restart. And now in this film, she gets stuck in another time loop and she needs to figure out how to end it. Like always, let's start off with the pros. Jessica Rothe as Tree was a highlight of the first film and is also a highlight here. She really carries the film forward and you root for her character throughout the whole film. And that has a lot to do with her acting and line delivery. And this is actually like a big deal because you really just follow her character throughout the film and you really need to care about her and root for her. So she did a very well job. And also there were other actors who did a pretty good job. Israel Broussard, who was in the first film, does a good job here. And also one actor who was nice to see was Suraj Sharma, I think that's how you say his name. And he was Pi in Life of Pi, and he showed up in this film, which I liked. Another thing I enjoyed about this film was the writing. It was very creative, since there's like a time loop and she needs to try and escape like this killer. So there's kind of multiple things going on which keep you on the edge of your seat. And it was also kind of comedic at times, just like the first film. There's always like a comedic side to this film and the first film, as I've said. And I kind of like that. Just one thing that was different was, in the first film it was more kind of horror comedy, and now it goes kind of like a more science fiction route. And that has a lot to do because this film focuses more on the time loop and how to end it, while the first film was more kind of trying to escape the killer. And she also does try to escape. There's still the killer, but it's more kind of with the math and science, which I thought was really cool. One more thing I enjoyed about this film was the soundtrack. It had kind of like a lot of pop songs which fit the tone of the film and I think the demographic of the film. Because this film, it seems like is aimed towards teenagers / like young adults, which I think they will kind of like the soundtrack, and I enjoyed it because it just fit the movie very well. Let's move on to the cons now. Sometimes the film would get really goofy and cheesy, and it would come in a place and feel very all of a sudden. It was placed, whenever it would get kind of cheesy and goofy, it would always be placed in between scenes that didn't really have that tone. And I'm glad the film went for it because I feel like that's what it was trying to be. But I wish they could have maybe done something, like the director or in writers maybe, I wish they could have done something to make the tone feel more smooth. Also, the film has a very abrupt ending, and it ends right after like the big climax of the film. And I wish there was a little bit more, they could have added something a little bit more after what the ending was. And there even was a post-credit scene which I thought was cool, and it kind of fixes this con. But people behind me were leaving and they didn't even see the post-credit scene, so I feel like if it were added to the film, it would have been like if it were added to the actual film and wasn't a post-credit scene, it would work better. Overall, I thought Happy Death Day to You was a very fun sequel to Happy Death Day. This film was very easygoing and it's just enjoyable to maybe watch with your friends. The acting was great, the soundtrack was great. As I've said, the writing was great. The only cons or flaws of this film was just with sometimes it would get overly kind of goofy, and that would come in a place where it would feel kind of all of a sudden. And also the ending was very abrupt. And that's why I give Happy Death Day to You a B. I recommend this film if you want answers to the unanswered questions from the first Happy Death Day, or if you want a fun kind of science fiction horror movie. And as always, don't forget your popcorn! Until next time, from Mr. U to you, stay tuned.